Hi, it's Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot, and today I'm doing a video response by Anna Astral Lady Tarot called decks that I'm using, or decks I'm using now and why. I first saw this video response that Nina did to her on her channel on Shuffle Tarot, and I decided that I would like to do it as well. So I haven't done a hashtag since I can't even remember when. So basically it's asking it's got some prompts on the question: what attracts me in the decks that I've picked? What am I looking for right now? What do I need? Can I relate the deck's energy or theme to what is happening around me? And can I relate the deck's energy or theme to what is happening in my personal life on the inside? And what do I expect this deck will bring me? And then after that, it's got actually some connection questions that you can ask of your decks, which I'll swap cameras and I'll do that later on. But first of all, what attracts me in the decks that I've picked, this is quite interesting because I've actually gone back to decks that I first started working with back in 2000. I think when anybody first starts reading the tarot, you can get really caught up in all the beautiful new wonderful decks that are out there, because of course when I first started, I was only aware of the Rider-Waite Tarot. So I haven't got my very original first Rider-Waite Tarot, but I do have the second one that I bought once I realised that you could actually buy other decks. But still, it ended up being a Rider-Waite Tarot, and that is the Hanson Roberts decks. Now, I've actually trimmed and edged this deck because I've had it for, well, I've had it for that long, and all the borders and everything went yellow. And actually, I think it looks quite sweet. It looks quite good. So I've actually been working with this deck a fair bit again, particularly in my series Learn Lenormand with me and looking at tarot through the eyes of Lenormand. I still like it, and I got a really strong bond with this deck when I first started to work with it. Really good, strong connection, and then I put it aside because I got distracted by all the beautiful decks that were out there, and just purchasing decks left, right and centre. And I put this to the side and I kind of lost the connection. Well, I've kind of found it again. I've been connecting really well with this particular deck again. And I think and that sort of kind of answers what attracts to the decks that I picked, is because I had such a strong connection with this particular deck. And I put it to the wayside because I got distracted by all the other beautiful decks that were out there. And I've recently just purged my deck collection for the second time, so I'm getting rid of another 13 decks. And I think I've pared it down to now to what I'm actually going to use. But the biggest deck that I use, because those of you who follow my channel know that Tarot and Lenormand come into my life pretty much at the same time, within a week of each other or 2 weeks or something like that, along with the spiritual path that I decided to walk down. So, and that deck was Titania's Fortune cards. Now, this is the first edition, of which I was very kindly gifted to a wonderful subscriber of mine, Michelle Cracker. And this deck was published in the year 2000. So I've been working with this deck for a long time. Now, it has come back out, but this is the second edition, of which I also bought. I bought this first before I actually got gifted that lovely deck. And the difference, I suppose, between these ones is that actually I haven't got the other deck, have I? I'm just going to pause it and I'll grab the other one. So the difference between the two are, so this is the backs of the original Lenormand deck. This is the back of the second edition. Now, I've actually clear contacted these ones because the cardstock quality is pretty poor, and that's what they look like. So as you can see, the first edition here is much more darker and vibrant in colour, whereas the second edition is a little bit more wishy-washy. So that's really basically the only difference of these two decks. Otherwise, everything's the same. She's kept the same meaning in them, yada yada. So I have been, really drawn back to working with Lenormand again. I cannot tell you how much I've been drawn. Now, when I first started reading, I put the tarot to the side and concentrated on Lenormand because I was just getting so much better, clear, concise answers. Because I was going through some shit back then, and this was the deck that answered it. And the reason why I'm looking at them right now, what I'm looking for right now is no bullshit answers, and Lenormand is the no bullshit answer deck for me anyway, personally. that always tells it like it is. It's not a cupcake deck. If you like cupcake type of readings, please do not buy Titania's fortune cards, because they will tell you like it is. They can be quite brutal as well. So I think this is what I'm looking for right now, and what I need is I need that no bullshit answer to what's going on in my life right now. As for the deck's energy, well, that's it. It's as you know, I have said that I've been struggling the last couple of months with my depression, something that I haven't struggled with for well over a decade. And I've recently found out the answer why I have been suffering the depression. And that was because I let my spirituality slide. I spent last couple of weekends in the garden, been repotting some plants. I've been, you know, planting some flowers, and I noticed that the flowers that I was planting, I planted some heart ease. And when I first planted these, when I first walked down the witchy path all them years ago, I was planting plants that I wanted to attract, what I wanted to attract in my life. And heart's ease is exactly what it says. It eases your heart and it brings love into your life. And I also had some dianthus as well, which is like a protective type of a flower. And guess who planted them back in her garden now, all these years later? That's exactly what I did. Unfortunately, I can't have the herb wheel that I used to have, because I've just got too small a garden. I used to have a massive herb wheel in the front of my garden in South Australia. So, and then it dawned on me when I was actually doing one of my series, and I was pulling some cards, and there it was staring at me right in the face. I answered my own question of why I was depressed, because I let my spirituality slide. I stopped walking my witchy path. I stopped doing spell work. I just stopped doing everything. And the reason why I stopped it is because the goddess brought me everything that I needed. She healed my heart. She got me that divorce. Met my second husband with like 2 weeks later, after I separated from my first husband, and I was with him for 20 years, and I married my second husband within 6 weeks. So it was a big whirlwind. So I felt like that I got everything that I wanted and more, and I kind of felt greedy doing spell work because I had everything that I needed. So I just kind of let it all slide. And of course, as I've gotten older and wiser, well, of course, you know, you can still do work without having to ask for anything, but I needed to hear it again, and I needed to hear it, and what deck told me was Titania's fortune cards. And I think I had another deck that I'm going to share. I think it was the Hush Tarot that actually opened my eyes. So the Hush Tarot is at the back. I'm pretty sure it was this deck, and I did use some Lenormand cards to answer it. I can't, you know, but the Hush Tarot, and the reason why I am attracted to this deck is because it's nature. It's all very nature inspired. So of course this is relatively new. This deck only came out this year, but I just absolutely adore the images. It's absolutely beautiful. It's everything that I love in a deck. It's nature based. It's got that fae vibe about it, but it's got a very earthy gods type about it, if that makes sense. It just really ticks all the boxes for me. And of course that's what the energy is. It's the earth energy. I needed to ground again, and that's what I literally did. I grounded again because I started gardening again. And when I was going through all that crap in my life, and I moved from Melbourne to South Australia without my first husband, he stayed there. That's what I did. I used to spend 8 hours a day just gardening, just full out, just gardening. I couldn't stop. It was an addiction, and I did that for many, many months. But it healed my heart. It healed what it needed healing in my life. So the Hush Tarot, the energy of this deck is the earth-based energy. It's absolutely beautiful. And before I even actually started walking down this type, oh no, I just started that. My husband, who is from New Zealand, took me to New Zealand on our honeymoon, and while I was there, he brought me the Druid Wisdom Animal Oracle, and I've edged mine in a really bright green, but I've actually got 2 decks in here. I've actually got the and as you can see, I've trimmed it as well. I've actually got the, oh gosh, what's it called? The Druid Plant Wisdom, I think that's what it's called. So this is the animal one, and the first one was from the plants. And of course, and I've been pulled to this deck again. And I haven't worked with this for many, many years, but this is what's calling to me now. All of my earth-based energy type decks, because that's what I need to connect with. I need to connect with Mother Nature again. I need to connect with the goddess. I need to connect to the ancestors of the land that the spirits of the land that I live on. And this is what's calling to me. So I've had this deck for as long as I've been married. So we've been married 17 years next year. Okay, my husband just rang as usual. I forgot to turn off my phone. So as you can see, this is an absolutely gorgeous deck, and without the borders, it really, really pops. It's beautiful, because I did try to walk the Druid path, but it isn't for me. It's hard to do in Australia. It's hard to do in Australia. So, you know, I've kind of I've taken a little bit of this and I've added my own vibe to it. So that's another deck, you know, that I've had for many, many years, that has that's been sort of calling to me. And of course, again, the energy of the theme and what's happening in my personal life is I needed grounding. I needed to connect again with Mother Nature, with the goddess and the gods. I needed to connect with them, and so that's why I've been drawn to all of these earthly type based decks. I did work this for quite a long time with the Guardian Tarot by Beth Selwyn. And again, this is all based on trees, and I'm very, very connected. I've always had a strong connection to trees. I grew up with a massive willow tree in my house when I was a kid. And so, you know, this deck is beautiful. It's eerie, it's urethral, it's or erethal. I think I pronounced that wrong, but you know what I'm saying. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and it reads beautifully. It reads really deep type of readings as well. Very spiritual based readings. I tend to pull this out for my clients, along with another deck that I'm going to share in a minute. So this is another, as you can see, you know, it's just all trees. That's another sort of a grounding. So it was obviously that I needed to ground again, and that's why I've been attracted to decks that I worked with for many, many years. I've also really the Phalakos. Oh God, I love this deck. Absolutely adore this deck. Again, I have trimmed this one there. This deck, I do some soul work type readings on my where I work at Future Me, and of course I got them advertised on my website as well. And this deck just really hits all the nails in the box. It just absolutely, it's just wonderful. It just really, really, it makes you think. You know, when I read with this deck, it's not something that you can just skim over. It's something that you need to sit and really, really look at what the messages are telling you. And see that the word ready up the top, even the keywords end up having meaning to the reading. This card, this is very interesting. I did a soul work type of a reading just not long ago for a lady, and this card come up, and I said to her, you know, I'm really feeling you need to work with feline energy, with cats, and you know, it was, you know, and I won't go too much detail, but it was definitely with cats. And she said, she wrote back to me and she says, I've always been a dog person, but I'm moving, and I've been thinking of buying a pair of cats. She said she couldn't believe that I picked up on it. So it's just incredible, this deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. It reads absolutely beautifully. And I think the energy of this deck is very, because I truly believe that this little creature on the back is the spirit of the deck, which is exactly what I said when I done my first walkthrough. And I actually saw this from Sanskrit Blue. She did a walkthrough on this deck, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, that's the spirit of this deck for sure, that speaks through this deck. And it just gives you, answers that you need to think on. You need to really, every time I do a reading with this card for someone else, I've got to sit there and take my time with it and really look at the images, because they just speak so much, but you've really got to search for them. It's really like what she says, like walking into a cave and searching for things, looking for what's illuminated in your life. This is what this deck brings, but you're the one that's going to have to light the candle to find it. So you really have to search when it comes to this deck. So they're the decks that I've been drawn to working with. Decks that I've had now, except for the Phalakos and the Hush Tarot and the Guardian Tarot, but the decks that I've had for many, many years. So even the good old Rider-Waite, you know, my trusty old Hanson Roberts has been getting a workout again, had a new facelift, seems to enjoy it. Besides Titania's fortune cards, I've also been working with the Gilded Riviere from Ciro Machete. I still enjoy to reading with this particular deck as well. And I've had this for a long time. Actually, when was this first published? I wonder when it says. It was published 2013, so I probably would have had it that long at least. So this particular deck, you know, is really nice as well. It reads really well, but still, Titania's fortune cards are my chosen cards. This deck is everything to me. It's my go-to. As you can see, the images on this deck are very, very plain. Almost psychedelic looking. They're not the prettiest cards in the Lenormand deck that I've ever had or used, but by God, they are the best. They are just the best. They tell it like it is with this. This deck can be quite scary sometimes, the things that it picks up. It's absolutely freaking amazing. And I'm not the only person, people that I've had feedback when I've used this deck, and they've said the same thing. They've had some truly unbelievable readings with this deck. And it's just, you know, it's amazing. And you can see there's not a lot of detail in this deck. You know, it's just, you know, like a basket of flowers. It's you know, I'm trying to find. I'll just out of interest, just see if I can find the moon card. Just so. Okay, here we go. Here's the moon card. So, you know, when you're looking at the moon card to Ciro Machete's card, you know, it's just a plain moon, but for some reason, even though it's got, and I'm a pictorial reader, so even though it's got a lot more going on in this particular card, I read more in this card. And it could be because I have been reading it for so damn long, you know, that could be the reason why, but it's just something about this deck that is absolutely uncanny. So, you know, the Lenormand is what I have been working with the most, and I have been pulling out my older type of decks. Of course, I've also been using, I've had this deck for a while too. This is Alexandre Mazarac's Lenormand. It's the vintage Albumen, or I think he just calls it the Albumen Lenormand, but as you can see, it's all based on, you know, vintage photos. I actually didn't order this deck. I actually ordered his Kipper deck that's made in the same vein of this, and he sent me this by accident. so I ended up getting this for like, I don't know, like $10 or something like that. So he was really, really good about it. And I thought, well, why not, you know? And I really like it too. This is a really good deck for reading as well. I use this one as well on my Lenormand Week Ahead that I put out on Sundays. So this is another deck that I like. I mean, the pictures aren't, it's not the best to read for on YouTube because they're very hard to see, you know, they're not the best quality, I suppose, but I still like them. I still enjoy reading with them. And of course, you know, I've got my own Lenormand that I did, the Australiana one, because I wanted something to reflect where I actually live. You know, I use this as well on my Week Ahead ones. So these are just all pictures from around Australia that I used. And so I use that one a fair bit, but still my favourite will be Titania's without a doubt. It's just something about that deck. So I'm going to pause it now, and then I'm going to swap cameras, and then we'll go and answer the questions. That's the second sort of part on the video. So I suppose when you're looking at the deck's energy or theme, for me, it's definitely the no bullshit vibe is what I'm looking for, because, you know, I could not understand after like 17 years now of not being depressed, how depressed I was. It was ridiculous. I was so bad that I actually went to the doctor, and I was thinking about going back on medication. So, you know, and now I don't need it. I don't need it because I've been gardening and I've been doing, you know, I know what I need to do now. And as soon as I started doing that, connecting with nature, connecting with the goddess again, my depression went like that straight away. So, you know, that's what it is, and that's what this deck brings me. What do I expect it to bring me? It's the no bullshit vibe, and that's exactly what it did. It told me exactly like what I needed to hear. So let's turn around the camera. Okay, so the first question is, where am I now? And I'm going to be using Titania's fortune cards. I'm actually going to be using the Lenormand because that's what I've been called to working with the most. So the first question was where I am now, and I got the coffin. Interesting, isn't it? So I'll pull the cards first and then I'll discuss them. The second one is, what can I take in to feel better or to feel more balanced? So what can I take in to feel better, to feel more balanced? It's a whole heap of them, I don't need that many. It's not letting me know. What can I take in to feel better, feel more? Maybe that one will do. No, that's not it either. There we go. Okay, and then the third one is, what can I send out to feel better? What can I send out to feel better? So there we go. So this is it. So we've got the coffin for where am I now? And where am I now? I suppose the best way to answer it, because the coffin stands for delays. It stands for, it doesn't really stand for death unless, of course, you get the good old scythe next to it. So I'll just move them up to make sure that you can see that properly in the, oops, in the actual, because I'm filming this second bit on my, what's it called, iPhone. So yeah, so the coffin stands for delays. It can also stand for being boxed in as well. So for where am I now, this is exactly, rings true really, really well, because that's what I've been doing. I've been isolating myself too much. I've been staying in my house. I haven't been going out. I haven't literally I wasn't doing anything. I was just reading a lot. I was reading quite a bit. I was constantly tired. I was always falling asleep. And that's exactly, even though it's got where I am now, I've kind of broken out of that cycle. So even though I still don't go out a lot, I'm actually, how do I describe it? I'm kind of, because even this coffin's lid is closed, but I've kind of, you know what it really reminds me of? I'll just say it reminds me of, because the first plant that I repotted was out the back, was a tree, and we planted it in a half a wine barrel, and that kind of, this is kind of what it reminds me of, because it wasn't dying, but it wasn't blooming either. It was really root bound, and it needed to be taken out. And so this card is telling me that I'm still a little bit root bound, that I need to repot myself into a ground that'll better nourish me. So I'm still in the process of doing it. So when you first look at that, you think that I'd be stuck and it's stagnant, but it's not. I'm in the process of actually repotting myself, if that makes sense, you know. I'm finding my roots again, and in doing so, I've gone back to decks that I worked with many, many years ago. So the second one is, what can I take in to feel better and more balance? And the whip. Now the whip can stand for tension, it can stand for arguments, but it can also stand for whipping yourself up into action. And that's exactly what I've been doing, because I've actually started a new diet, and I've just gone, now look, I've been trying, I'm 54, and I've been trying for a long time trying to lose this menopausal weight gain, because my entire life I was underweight, and for me it was really getting me down as well, more so than I even realized, actually. So what I've actually done is, and I went on light and easy and everything, like nothing worked, but I've actually gone back on diet shakes, which in the past did work for me, and I'd forgotten about it. And so the whip for me actually represents me shaking up that shake 2 times a day, making sure I go for a walk every day. I've actually whipping up my metabolism, because I think I've lost 3 or 4 kilos already in a couple of weeks. So I'm really, really determined to do that. And of course, this is making me feel better. I feel more balanced because I'm not so tired anymore. I mean, usually at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd have to have a nap, always, constantly, and I was tired. And I'm just talking about a nap. I'm talking about a nap that sometimes would last, you know, a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, you know. It was really, really stuffing me around. So the whip for me is a good thing, because, you know, I'm getting more balance. My body is getting back into balance. I can see myself losing weight, and it's really making me feel happier. Now, as for what can I send out to feel better is the key. And the key is a card of unlocking things. So I'm kind of still in the process, because if you look at if you're looking at the whip and the coffin together, you know, I'm whipping myself up. I'm getting them roots that, you know, firm. I mean, being rooted at home was literally staying at home, not even going on my walks. That's how bad I got. So now I've whipped myself up. So the key, what am I sending out to feel better is, well, perhaps this video is going to help somebody out there. Perhaps I will unlock something for someone who's watching this. I don't know, you know. The key is just a card that unlocks, but it's also a key of protection as well. So it can and of course, you know, have a look at the beautiful colors. It's the green, isn't it? It's the actual green. So for me, you know, it's Mother Nature that grounds me. And perhaps whoever watches this video has realized that, hey, they used to love doing gardening and going out and stuff, and they've stopped doing it as well. And of course, some of us can't because of the COVID-19. But, you know, there is some stuff that we can do just in our own garden, even if it's just pot plants, you know, even if it's just pot plants, we can do something. So the key looks like, what can I send out to feel better is, I still have to search. I've still got to search for it. It's a bit of an enigmatic card there. It's not really going to tell me a lot. It's basically, it just means you're being protected and something is about to be unlocked in your life. But let's try it with another deck now. And I wonder, I was going to do all Lenormand, but I wonder if I should do, now you know the Philakos keeps calling me. Let's do the Philakos, all right. And then I might do another Lenormand on top of it. So let's have a look at where I am now. And this is the Ace of Sparks, which is the Wands. And then the next card will be, what can I take in to feel better or to feel more balanced? These are popping up. Five of Sparks. Oops, you can see that. And what can I send out to feel better? Okay, so as you can see with the Philakos Tarot, what you would call the court cards, I suppose, oops, let me drop the whole lot then, are in black and white. This put off a lot of people actually in the for this deck, but I myself like it. So the Trails is a knight and the Dreamers are pages in this deck, and they're all in black and white. So the Ace of Sparks is the Ace of Wands, and this is where I am now. And I have been thinking a lot. I have been creatively, I have been thinking quite a bit, and as you know, the coffin was underneath it, so it was being delayed, but my creativity hasn't stopped working, as you can see by all the horses that are sort of on the top of her head, but her eyes are covered up. So why the reason I like it being black and white, because it's just starting. You haven't coloured in your life yet, if you understand what I'm saying. You haven't actually coloured in that creativity. It's still in the grey area. It's not quite black and white, because if you look at this, it's more in greys, more monotone colours of all sort of different types of greys with a bit of white in there. So I still need to take that blindfold off, but I did actually go within to find out what was bugging me. So that is not only my creativity, but my intuition has been sparked as well. As for what can I take in to feel better and more balanced, well, as the Five of Sparks is the Five of Wands. And this is, you know, the male and female energy, the divine, the goddess, the gods. It's getting up and doing something. It's fighting for my... not my sanity, because I wasn't that badly depressed, although I have been in the past, but it was fighting for that balance within me. So that was exactly what I needed to take in. I needed to take in the energy of the Five Sparks to figure out what's wrong. And of course, if you look at the snakes and the frogs, are very much goddess type of energy animals, of transformation, of the frog of diving deep into your emotions, the snake of shedding your skin, and indeed finding something better. And then we've got what can I send out? And this is the Knight of Cups. Have a look how beautiful she is at this particular night. What can I send out, I suppose, is the message is that you need to follow your own heart. That's what I need to say. So I suppose the key makes sense, isn't it? The key to what you can send out is following your own heart. Okay, so I was struggling before with the key. I know it was unlocking something, but what it was unlocking is that everyone out there who's watching this needs to follow their own heart. The key is your heart. Okay, you need to do what your heart tells you. You need to follow your heart and not be so caught up in perhaps what your mind is telling you that you should do, or other people or things like that. So there you go. That made sense, didn't it? So I'm going to do a third one, and I'm going to use what should I use? I'm going to use my Lenormand deck, okay, because these are what I've been using with the most. So let's have a look what my actual Australiana Lenormand says about where am I now? This one popped right up. And this is the tower, okay. That's the tower. We have a lot of these out and outback. They're water towers. So they're in the middle of nowhere, with nobody around, so it's isolation. And that's exactly where I am now, like the coffin pertained to. I have been isolating myself. I haven't been doing anything. Even though my creativity has been working at 100 miles an hour in my head, and I've been having a lot of dreams, lots of dreams. I still have that tendency to isolate myself, and that's exactly where I am now. So I'm searching for that elusive water to nourish me, into what's nourishing me. As you can see, there's a tree that's reaching out, that's just touching the water tank. So I've started, and I'm nearly there, and I'm actually drinking in what nature has to give me, what nourishes me, which is being earth-based and nature-based, and my spirituality. So I am started to drink from that top of that tall tower. What can I take in to feel better and to feel more balance? And this is the Stork. And of course, what can I take in? What does that tell you when you're looking at that? It's movement, because the Stork is all about movement, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been walking. So here we've got the crane. I've forgotten the actual. Oh my God, it's come out of my head now. It's an Australian crane, and I cannot think what it's called now. I actually went to the zoo not long ago and I saw them there. But anyway, this crane is taking a walk through the water, through the river, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been walking. Now I live by the beach, and I haven't gone for a walk by the beach. Well, we hardly ever go to the beach, funny enough. But that's exactly what I can take in to feel better. It's basically taking the air. So this is also telling me that I should take time out to go and walk by the beach, because it's a beautiful beach and I should do it more often. But again, it's telling me about movement, because don't forget, the very first card to Tanya's was whip. I needed to whip myself up. I needed to move, literally. And this is what the crane is telling me, the movement. So this is actually a good sign for me, because this is telling me that, yes, I'm going to lose weight, finally, because not only am I moving, but I'm being very proactive. I watch every single thing that I put in my mouth now. I've found out that I just cannot eat bread. As soon as I eat bread, because on the Saturday and the Sunday I like to eat just like normally, still, you know, watching what I put in my mouth, but as soon as I eat bread, it just bloats me. It's ridiculous. So I'm just not even going to do that anymore on the weekends. So now let's see what I can send out. What can I send out to feel better? And this is the sun. So I hope you can see that. And it's the sun. What can I send out to feel better? My sunny disposition on life. The sun is a beautiful card. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a horse riding. So she's riding in the sunset there. So this could either actually be either time. It could be early in the morning, very early in the morning, or it could be towards the evening. So what that I can send out to feel better is basically, well, this video, because this video might actually help other people who are watching it feel better, realizing that, you know, particularly if you have been struggling losing weight as I have, or if you've been struggling feeling isolated because you literally cannot get out and about due to the COVID. We're lucky here in Western Australia. Our lives are pretty much back to normal now. Of course, we all still take precautions, but if you're not in that actual space, then, you know, it's hard, isn't it? So what you can do to feel better, what I can send out to feel better, I suppose, is if go out and sit in the sunshine, even if it's in your own backyard. And maybe this video will give you some clues too to help you lose weight if that's what you're struggling with, or you know, you're struggling with the isolation, is to literally go and sit in the sun. And it doesn't matter if, you know, if you can't physically go out and walk anywhere, just sit outside in the backyard. And actually that is what I have been doing as well. We've actually set up actually this table that I'm filming on. We've set up a little table that we can sit in the sun. So we've got a shaded area under the veranda, and we've also set that up in the backyard amongst the trees where we can sit and enjoy the sunshine as well. So really what I can send out is the sun's healing rays. I mean, I can't stress enough how much nature has actually healed me. It's been absolutely wonderful. So this was a really interesting, and you know what, I'm just going to pull one card just to sum it up. Let's pull one card from either the Druid Animal or the Druid Plant Wisdoms. I never know what card's going to pull up because I've just sort of shuffled them in there. Now, I haven't read with this deck for a long time, so, and believe it or not, the one that stood up is Fur Club Moss. I think I showed that one, didn't I, there? So I suppose, because I mean, I'd have to get the book to actually read the meaning, which I suppose I could do, couldn't I? Read the actual meaning. But looking at it, what's it tell you? It's in nature again, isn't it? So obviously for me, is what I can, summing it up all up, is the answer for me is to connect more with nature. So I won't bother looking up the, should I? I don't know if I can find it. If I can find the book. I've got a bookcase, and if I can see it, I think I can see it. I'll just grab. Okay, I am back because I'm just thinking maybe this has actually got a message for somebody, because I remember pulling that out and showing that. So maybe that's actually got a message out there for someone. And this could not only is what I can send out to feel better, but just to sum it all up. So let's have a look. It is on page 45. Now this has got very detailed meanings in this, so I'm not going to read all of it. So I'm just going to read the upright meaning, because it actually turned upright, even though I don't read them reversed. But it says, size isn't everything. If you have chosen this card, it may mean that something apparently small and even insignificant has entered your life, which may prove to be very powerful. Although it is a very small plant, Fir Club Moss is descended from the giants of the primeval forests that now supply our coal. The power and warmth that coal can bring is echoed in the way that moss can be used to start a fire in the wild. Choosing this card augurs well if you are starting a new project or relationship. Never be dismayed at humble beginnings. With patience, something that begins small or locally can grow to limits unimagined at the outset. The same principles hold true for spiritual initiation. Taking the first step on a path may not necessarily give you dramatic mystical experiences at the outset, but in beginning lies great power. And in time you may well look back and realize how much your life has changed because of this one seemingly small act. It is also possible that this card indicates that you are finally starting to see clearly. Until now, your understanding of perspective on a situation has been impaired, perhaps through lack of emotional distance. But now it is as a veil has been drawn aside and unmistakable clarity has emerged. And that's exactly what happened with me with going back to nature. So there you go. This was an absolutely fantastic hashtag to do. I highly recommend everybody to do it. But yes, for me, definitely, I've gone back to the roots of what I first started with. So all those years ago, what I first started with is what I should have continued on all the time, instead of being sucked in on buying all new and wonderful decks. Until next time, this is Tracy.